Tuesday, November 8th. Prepare to get annihilated as the two most hated candidates ever throw down 80 tons of dirt in the mega monster presidential race at American Motor Mouth Speedway. Wow, how does that guy do that all day long? Hi, everybody, I'm Steve Green, and I assume you know my attorneys Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. Now, it looks like the two major political parties have more or less settled on their nominees for the office of president, but what's the right angle on Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump? Wow, that really hurts. Yeah. All right, gents, what we have here are two candidates whose negatives are higher than a boulder-dwelling hippie with glaucoma and a bag of Cheetos on a Thursday morning. Trump and Clinton both have dedicated cores of supporters. I mean, real dedicated fans, but they also alienate the rest of us like Bill Maher opening for the Indigo Girls at Lilith Fair. So, how crazy is it? Well, Trump is tied with Clinton in reliably blue Pennsylvania and in vital swing states Florida and Ohio, but Clinton's numbers threaten Republican hegemony in 3 southern states, maybe even Arizona, and she could put Missouri back in play for the first time in a generation. It's just too crazy to predict what's going to happen in November. But my theory is that we're going to see the most negative campaign since David Duke and Max Blumenthal were vying for the Jewish Book Council Award for Literature. Bill, imagine, if you can, that you are Clinton campaign manager Robbie Mook. It's your job to turn people off of Trump without losing key Democratic constituencies, which I think is actually a much trickier path than it sounds like, given some unusual crossover appeal between the candidates. So how would you run this negative campaign?
You're asking me to run Hillary's campaign?
Yes.
I can't do it.
My
brain will not go there. I'm sorry. I don't mean to dodge the question. I simply can't do it.
No.
I cannot do it. I can say something about this that I think is interesting. I think on some level you could make the case that Donald Trump is the only person that Hillary could beat, and conversely, Hillary is the only person that Donald could beat. If you've got two people with two negative numbers, then you've got two villains. And what we learned from 2012 was that Barack Obama attacked Romney personally. He was a vampire who, gave people cancer, and he shipped lady parts to China in binders.
No.
And Romney wouldn't go after Obama. Romney basically said, "Oh no, he's a fine guy. We just don't like the way he's running the empire." And as my friend Jeremy Boring says, that's kind of like hearing Obi-Wan Kenobi say to Luke. Luke says, "Obi-Wan, tell me about my father, Ben." And Obi-Wan says, "Well, Luke, Darth Vader's not a bad fellow. We just don't like the way he's administering the empire. We find his tax rates to be a little bit too high. And his regulations, you're not going to get in a starfighter and die for that, So what they did was they made Romney a villain and Barack Obama wasn't. And you can't unvillainize yourself. So what your choice is, now we got two Darth Vaders. Which one has the best policy? And I think that's kind of where we need to go. I will say this. If Donald Trump is even close now, and he apparently is pretty close, he has not yet begun to fight Hillary. If he's close after fighting his own party without even opening those guns, because he is an effective campaigner in terms of going on the attack, that's his appeal. I think that's most of his appeal is that, conservatives, Republicans, and whoever else is voting for him, this guy fights back. I mean, that's ultimately it. If he hasn't started on Hillary yet, that's a really good sign for Republicans. And another good sign for Republicans is looking at the turnout in the primaries. Republican turnout is way above what it was in 2012. Democratic turnout is way below what it was in 2012. Like the outcome or not, Donald Trump is where the enthusiasm was on the Republican side, and Bernie Sanders is where the enthusiasm is on the Democratic side. And I got to tell you, if it's going to be these two people, I'm liking the looks of this a lot.
I got to tell you, if by some shot it was Trump versus Sanders, I would love that, because you'd have Trump on the attack. This guy is the worst. He's going to tax us into oblivion, and Sanders going, what? All right, that was a low blow. Scott, now for you, but we're going to switch things around. You are Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. There is not one negative thing, not one, that you can say about Hillary Clinton that the whole world doesn't not just know or not doesn't already know, but is plain sick and tired of hearing about. So how do you get people to listen to what you need to say about Hillary Clinton?
Well, I will give the same advice that I've gleaned from internal white papers and documents that Corey Lewandowski has been giving to Donald Trump for months and months, which is, Mr. Luthor, do whatever you want. And I really think.
Oh, we're all going to Otisville, folks.
Oh
That's
my
the
God!
advice that he's
A
he's
Ned
giving, 'cause-
Beatty reference. That's a record for us.
And this is why I would not, despite the fact that that most of the cognoscenti, including this cognoscentus, would like to put the former template upon this election and say it's like other elections. Look at the polls, look at the negatives. There's no way that Donald Trump can beat Hillary. Look at these states and those states. I think all of that's off. All of those bets are off. I mean, we had 17 excellent candidates for the presidency going into this Republican primary, and it came down to Donald Trump. So if it comes to him in this process, I would not write off his chances. And in fact, there are a lot of negatives about Hillary. This morning on the Glenn Beck Show, I heard a 13-minute audio tape of Hillary just lying. And that's out there. But Donald Trump has a peculiar gift of tagging someone with a name that they can't shake. He is the kid in high school who would come up with a piece of paper and tape something to, the poor special ed kid's back that had some insulting name on it, and then everybody would kick the kid in the pants. And that is what's happening that's what's going to happen to Hillary Clinton. I mean, crooked Hillary, he is going to ride all the way to the White House. I would not be surprised if he gets the nomination from the Republicans. I would not be surprised if he beats her. But it's sort of like Bill said. I think, they're both equally unqualified for this. And it reminds me of when my brother and I used to play Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and those little plastic robots with the buttons you press.
Sure.
Both of the robots in our set had glass jaws. So if you even slightly hit the jaw, it would go, and the head would pop off. And the way that kind of a battle ends is not what happens in the ring. It's just when one brother picks up the Rock'em Sock'em kit and hits the other brother over the head with it. That's how this one's going to be settled.
It's going to be ugly. And, I don't know what's going to happen on November 8th. Sometimes it looks like Hillary's going to walk away with this thing, and then 6 hours later it looks like it's Trump's to lose. Until the next day when it starts all over again the other way around. It's like riding the Expedition Everest roller coaster while it rides the Matterhorn inside of Space Mountain. But what it really looks like to me is Godzilla versus MechaGodzilla, just two giant monsters battling it out and destroying everything in their path. And you know what? You and Bill and Scott and me, we're just the people at Tokyo getting trampled into wet goo. But it's the way it is this year. So thanks for being a part of Right Angle. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to keep the show alive by becoming a member of BillWhittle.com. Spelled just like it sounds like. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you later.
It's the feel-good hit of the summer.